Alright, guys, I've literally just recorded this whole episode and the audio fucked up for some reason. And it was all stuttery, so I have to redo it. So I have seen this episode, but we'll try and recap as much as we can. So let's watch Inside Star Citizen and let's break it all down. Oh, Star Runner. Love the Star Runner.
Role ships in the persistent universe, by their very nature of the name, give you that flexibility.
They're intended to let you experience almost every part of the game. You can change between deciding to go off to a random planet and do some cargo missions, to changing your mind and decide to do bounty hunting and bringing a bounty back and put them in your hold.
So now, as we're on the verge of getting into more lawless systems like Pyro, I think multi-role is a great advantage to have.
So that's interesting, because at the end of the day, they were talking about stepping away. Well, they weren't talking about stuff. The community assumed they were stepping away from it because the fact that we hadn't had any ships that were modular lately. They figured that CIG might have thrown it in the too hard basket. Looks like that's not the case, and it looks like I'm going to end up being a little bit poorer when it comes to RSI Day.
Because you don't know what's lurking around the corner and you'll be able to react to whatever comes at you.
And that's why we're introducing the Constellation's big brother, the RSI Galaxy.
So throughout this whole episode, they keep mentioning the fact that it's the RSI's Constellation's big brother. That said, if you have an RSI Constellation, it might be an easy ship to upgrade from. So if you've got the RSI Constellation already, you might be able to CCU up to this a lot easier than it would be just to buy it outright. In fact, it actually makes me wonder, if I am going to be buying this thing, like I think I am, maybe I should start the CCU chain up to the Constellation already, and then I could just go from the Constellation straight up to the Galaxy on RSI Day. I will admit the guns look smaller in this than they did in the previous images that we've seen. I do wonder if they've scaled them down to size 4s, but we'll talk about that when we get closer to a better image.
The RSI Galaxy is a multi-role vessel with true modularity that has different sections of the middle of the ship that can be changed out to support significant and real gameplay loops.
It is built on the same kind of ethos as the Connie, but it's scaled up to a larger crew size.
The Galaxy has a very industrial feel compared to previous iterations, and the Constellation is a prime example. It has far less focus on its combat capabilities.
It's not a warship, so it's not bristling with guns, but it's got what it needs. We were just going for a ship that when you saw it, it just looked like you want to just get together with your friends, get that thing off the ground, turn it around and just fly as far as you can.
For me, I think the favourite thing about...
This is one thing I've always wanted in Star Citizen, is a ship where 4 to 8 people can go through, jump aboard and just fly out there. I've always wanted the Raza from Dark Matter, or the Rosanati from Expanse, right? Some ship where you might call into a station once a month or twice a month or something like that, but the bulk of the ship is you living aboard the ship. That's what I've always wanted. I would like them to see, obviously they will talk about modules in a sec, but like I said, I would like them to go through and talk about the fact that like putting more modules or possibly more modules in later. They put 3, which is great, but I can imagine they're expanding on this probably.
The Galaxy is just the look of it, in conjunction with the layout. It does keep that classic RSI sort of sub-capital shape to it.
We've got the nice big exposed engines.
So it is a sub-capital ship, which means it shouldn't have capital components. That's a good thing in the fact that obviously you can remove them easier and they're not going to be specialized removal, because all these capital ships are going to need to go to a capital ship dock to get the components removed eventually. So the fact that they are subcategory, but I would say they're probably going to be size 4 stuff. Size probably size 4 shields and stuff like that. Maybe size 5s. I'm not sure if 5 is capital or not. But yeah, it's going to be like the one below the capital, probably.
With some, we were starting to bring like metal onto the engines, like a kind of a titanium material to complement the kind of cooler greys and blacks of.
I really like this double color scheme that they've got, right? You've got the titanium-like skin here, and then you've got this sort of like armor plating sort of thing that goes over the top of it. That to me just looks freaking amazing.
The rest of the superstructure.
For me, RSI goes into kind of 2 different groups. You've got the slightly kind of more bulbous shaped ships, and then you've got this really aggressive arrow-headed kind of stance.
I'll tell you what, if they keep going in this arrowhead direction, it might replace my favourite, which is the Crusader. Just saying. The Star Runner is like currently whimpering in its hangar right now because it's like, oh my god, I might actually get replaced as my daily flyer.
And I think for me, the Galaxy kind of really falls into that arrow-shaped kind of, driving the ship forward.
That looks beautiful.
The interior architecture of the RSI brand is something that I really enjoy because it's got those nice upturned classic sci-fi walls that sort of canter in at the top. And it is a bit of a challenge designing those because it means they need a bit more room inside the vessel. So you just got to make sure you've got a bit more space. But when you've got a bigger ship like the Galaxy, there's enough room in there to get your accommodation for your 6 players, all your functional habitation and recreation and all your kind of crew positions and everything. There's enough room to do that and have these cool extra wide corridors with a nice architecture.
Starting at the bridge, it's a
So it looks like that's the cabin, and then like maybe co-pilots, or as I said in the video that didn't turn out, they might be the remote turrets. I think they're remote turrets, to be honest. So captain and remote turret 1 on the left, remote turret on the right.
central bridge that looks down onto the main part of the ship. Directly behind that, in the top deck, you have the habitation section. So you'll have a shared habitation space, and then moving further back, you have individual bedrooms, as well as the captain having their own office as well as bedroom.
So, as you guys have heard, and we've mentioned several times, it's a West Coast secret. We are doing a machinima, in that there is a flagship for a certain admiral. Normally, I won't say which ship it is, but we're normally using that one for the recordings. Well, we're going to be using that one for the recordings. This ship might actually end up replacing the existing ship they have, just because of the fact that it has a better sort of like quarters and stuff like that. I could see this ship actually being the flagship and replacing what we were going to be using. There's like meetings and stuff that happen in the machinima and stuff like that, and we could definitely use more of a bridge, sort of like a quarters for the captain sort of thing.
Behind that, you have the engineering section that looks down onto the hangar area, and it's probably one of my favourite parts of the ship because it has a nice look down onto the actual hangar, which is a rear-loading hangar, which is really cool in my opinion. The floor beneath that is where the module is, within the centre of the ship. It's a relatively large space for the different modules you might need, and directly connecting to the module section, there's the hangar.
So the 3 modules that are available are a cargo module, which increases the cargo capacity of the ship significantly.
There's a refinery module, which is, it's got a switch.
So just with that,
It's got a sweep mechanism.
so there, right, so this is the refinery one. We'll do this one first. They look like tractor beams, and there was that shot earlier. I'll see if I can find it. Here, where you can actually see it tractor beams the pods off a prospector. Like, I'm going to end up fucking bankrupt. Well, not bankrupt, but yeah, spending money on this ship. Like this to me is, yeah, like, yeah, I really like this ship. I really like this ship. All right, so that's obviously interesting. And in the cargo, so that's the medbed one. Where's the cargo? Here, looks like it's got like the cranes and stuff. and I presume that's a lift. For like that, like for example, the Brand New Merchantman has. So that is cool in itself. I like the fact it's got the cranes. It can lift boxes in and out. It also means it can do really big boxes, like the big party boxes that were at Orison. If that's a crane, that's definitely interesting. And then obviously you get over to this one here, the refinery, where you've got the refinery stations by the looks, and you have these great big refinery sort of like tractor beams and stuff, with probably like a tractor beam or like a floor lift or something like that, or a door or something like that, plus some storage space as well. I really like this.
I think it's going to work really well with something like a prospector.
Yeah.
And then the last one is a medical module.
The medical module is split into two halves. So in the very center, there's a lift that'll bring you up, so if there's anyone injured in a vehicle, you can get them straight into the actual medical wings. Alternatively, you can use the hangar at the back to fly someone in and unload them into the actual galaxy.
I can see this ship working really, really well with the new medical Pisces. I know later they talk about the Pisces, they talk about it and the Carrack, but to be honest, I can see this ship working with the Pisces a lot, with the medical Pisces a lot better. Medical Pisces stored in the back hangar and then takes you into the med room.
Inside the actual medical wing, you have an assortment of different tiered med beds for whatever injury the person might have sustained. Although it's been a while since we've showed off a modular ship or released any new ships that were modular, it isn't something that we wanted to move away from. Modular ships have a unique place in the...
Good. Very, very good. Oh, the Star Citizen community really was worried about that because of the fact that we haven't had anything that's modular in a while. People might have thought they were throwing it in the too hard basket. I'm glad they have said, no, look, this is what we're going for. To be honest, the reason why I don't think we've had anything that's been modular in a while is just because of the fact that it's gameplay loops that or tech that needs to be added, and they were busy doing things like the hull C and with the magnetic boxes and the mechanics to sort of like condense. So now that those are seemingly done, I imagine those guys are probably moving on to something like this, where you now have modular gameplay.
Universe, because it helps push the multi-crew and multi-role ship. It's part of the reason why there's been less emphasis on multi-role ships in the universe recently. Now that we're getting closer to being able to deliver it, it's something we want to start revisiting again.
That to me sounds like they just didn't have the tech for modularity, and at the end of the day, they didn't want to sell ships that they couldn't build straight away. That's what it sounds like to me. Which is nothing wrong with. I'm not discouraging. In fact, I think that's an amazing idea.
Starship Galaxy is perfect for a group of friends who want to be able to try lots of different aspects of the game and not limit themselves to one individual part, who one day might decide that them and all their friends are going to go out and do a load of mining and refining, making lots of money from gathering resources.
They look like tractor beams. Maybe. Or maybe that's where you put the materials in, maybe? I don't know. I have no idea.
But then the next day might decide that they want to do some cargo.
Yeah, it does have cranes. There we go. There's the big boxes. And you can see in the roof here, it looks like there's cranes that sort of like lifting it up and stuff.
Hauling across the verse. So they go from one system to another, transporting huge amounts of goods. The next day they might decide that them and their friends want to have a battle, so they need someone to be able to hear people. It's a ship that allows them to experience the most of the game without limiting themselves.
So they look like size 4s. Looks like the weapons that might have dropped down to size 4s. Mind you, there is still 6 size 4s. That's going to ruin anybody's day. Possibly still size 5s, but they look like 4s to me. It's hard to tell the size of the ship, though. It is a big ship. They look like 4s. They look like 4s to me. But anyway.
The RSI Galaxy is the newest concept ship making its debut at this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And you'll get your chance to learn even more.
Okay, that doesn't... CIG, just take my fucking money. That's all it's going to be tomorrow or on my Sunday, your Sunday, is me throwing a frigging credit card at the screen just saying, just take the fucking money. I love this fucking ship. I really, really, really do. It's got modularity. It's got cargo. It's got medical. It's got fucking refinery. I would like to see more modularity come in the future. So, like, maybe meeting rooms. Maybe that's a possibility. But those 3 are a solid modularity idea. And I like the fact that you can go through and just take the ship and I can do cargo running one day. Right? And I'd be like, yeah, great. And then Fez can hit me up and say, hey, gamers, I crashed my ship into a planet and I've killed John and half the crew. Can you come and save me? Inside Discord joke. But at the end of the day, and then I can just switch up the modularity and throw in the medical module and go and end up saving half the Discord because Fez will end up wiping half them out. You know, I want that sort of modularity in the ship. And like I said, this thing might end up replacing my Star Runner as my daily flyer. Depending on the size. The Star Runner is a really, really good size for a solo ship. This thing, I imagine, is going to be a lot bigger than the Star Runner. Like, giving you an idea how big the Constellation is. So it might be a little bit harder to fly as a one-person ship. But, you know, but I can see, like, for example, the Star Runner being the daily flyer still, but very heavily leaning into this thing. I love this ship. I just want to be able to, like I said, I want the mercenary ship from the Raza from Dark Matter. I want the Rosinante from Expanse. Why does every good sci-fi ship start with R? Except for Destiny, of course. But at the end of the day, yeah, like I said, I love those sort of mercenary sort of gunship sort of thing. And yeah, I know this ship doesn't have a lot of firepower. It has enough to defend itself, but it's not going to be like the ship that like wipes out 5 javelins or whatever, right? I don't think anything's going to be able to wipe out 5 javelins, but you know, like, it's not going to be like able to take on like a whole squadron of fighters or something like that. It's going to be a case of get the fuck out. But like I said, it's probably going to have size 4 components, subcapital. So at the end of the day, that means that it will have decent shields, but also you will be able to replace them without going into a capital ship dock. So I just love this fucking ship. I really do. They keep saying it's the Constellation's big brother. So I'm wondering if CCUing from the Constellation to this is going to be sort of where they're aiming for people to sort of upgrade. I can imagine this being a bit of a Constellation killer due to the fact that it is sleek and arrow design and seemingly better. But the Constellation, you can also fly around as a one-person ship too, so that's obviously great for that. But like I say, I can definitely see this ship sort of being a very good competitor to RSI Constellation, and I can imagine people CCUing from the Constellation to this as sort of like a deal sort of thing, maybe. We'll see.
About it during our...
It also makes me wonder if I should start CCUing to the Constellation so that I already have that, and then I can just go up to the Galaxy. Because let's face it, we know I'm going to be buying this thing on friggin' Sunday, or your Saturday. Like, the only thing that's going to stop me is the price, depending. And I'm expecting it to be around the 600 mark, which is way too much money I want to spend, but I still might spend it.
This Saturday, November 26th. But the Galaxy isn't the only rumored vehicle to arrive at this year's event. Anvil Day brought with it the brand new C8r Pisces, the space ambulance that some requested and many others never knew they could.
So we've already covered the ambulance. Like I said, the Pisces. I imagine the Pisces is going to be a good ship to work with the Galaxy. You have the med station in there. You have the Pisces ambulance edition in the back in the hangar. You can then take off with the Pisces, go and put everybody in there, stabilize them, fly them back to the Galaxy for specific treatment. Because they said it's got every med 1, 2, and 3 in the Galaxy. So I can imagine those two working very well together.
Quite wanted. Let's find out more as this IAE ISC continues.
The C8r is a new entry medical level vehicle. It's a variant of the well-loved Pisces.
We decided to make it a little bit faster than the regular Pisces, just so you can get to emergencies just that little bit quicker, slightly better for someone surviving.
Oh wow, it's a lot faster.
We have had to remove a little bit of the range. It's no longer a exploration ship like the regular C8 and the C8X, so it cannot jump quite as far as they can. We added some siren lights so people can see when you're coming. We've also given it a traditional medical colouring, so we've gone for a nice little red and white.
The C8r is a variant of the Pisces, so it benefits from the paints that exist for the Pisces itself can be used on that, and the reverse is also true. So some of the more medical themed paints can also be put on the base one, which I'm sure people will find various interesting ways of.
There's going to be trolling. You do realise that there is going to be trolling now that you've mentioned that. The people are literally going to turn up in the ambulances, paint skin, and then literally just start killing people because they're trolling. No, I'm not against it. I think it's funny. But trolling is definitely going to happen.
Using and misusing.
We have gone for a very clean style on the inside. When you step in through the ramp, you'll notice that there is some of the decontamination ports towards the bottom of the area. There's then a large frosted glass door that will open up. We have, off to the right, a tier 3 medical bed. And off to the left, we've got some storage. We've got a fridge for you that's stocked up with a couple of meds for you when you get the ship. We've had to remove one of the jump seats that came with the regular C8. However, that's been replaced with the medical terminal.
It's also a great partner to the Carrack, which obviously has a tier 2 medical bed. So now Carrack owners can use C8r as a sort of a advanced medical scout to be able to ferry injured people back for further treatment.
I can see people using it for going out to bunker missions, just getting out there, doing all the murdering that they do, getting all the stuff back into Pisces, and then making sure that any nicks, cuts, grazes, or broken arms that they've got fixed before they move on to the next location.
The C8r is.
I think it works better with the Galaxy. I really, really do. But, you know.
Obviously, for those sort of players who want to support other players in the game, it's never going to win a combat fight. It doesn't have the durability to last in engaged combat. But it is there primarily and almost solely to rescue injured players or NPCs and keep them alive long enough to get them to somewhere to heal more severe injuries.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that specialized vehicles will always have their place in the persistent universe, but that a more rounded, multi-role experience might just be what's needed out there in the less civilized regions. That the Galaxy isn't just the Connie's big brother, but a return of player-facing modularity and potential harbinger for that system's future development.
That's it. That's exactly it. I missed this the first time I went around. But that's the reason why we haven't had modularity. Is because at the end of the day, it is a game design issue they have to work on. And that's exactly what it... And look, no, not criticising CIG here. I know how pain in the ass game design can be. I do, like I've said plenty of times, I do modding and stuff like that. I get it. I really, really do. And Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think they stepped away from it temporarily because it was a lot easier and they didn't have to worry about bringing in ships that they couldn't build straight away because they already have a backlog.
And that the new C8r Medical Pisces isn't just a standalone ambulance, but a solid addition to any ship with a hangar that can support it. Now, if you watched last week's Star Citizen Live IAE 2952 Super Talk Spectacular, you might have heard me mention about us finally pulling the curtain back on the Polaris internal layout rework this week. And here's where we have sort of a good news and bad news type situation. The bad news is that the shortened Thanksgiving holiday this week means we weren't quite able to get that going where we wanted it to be for this show.
Okay, what's the good news?
The good news is that we'll have plenty of time to explore the new Polaris concept layout next episode. So hopefully with even a more in-depth look than we would have managed this week. So
I'm not upset about that. If you're going to give me a more in-depth look at the Polaris, then at the end of the day, I'm waiting for that episode. I will wait to see that. And we'll probably get something similar like what we did with the Galaxy. So the Galaxy in this was basically half the episode. So if they can spend half of the next episode talking about the Polaris and the inside of that, I really don't have an issue.
Stay tuned for that. For Inside Star Citizen,
I think that it being in this week's episode probably would have helped with Polaris sales, but I don't think CIG is going to have an issue with money considering the Galaxy's coming out on this said day. And everybody in my Discord right now is like, all eyes are on the Galaxy. Hitman, Ferret, John. John has literally, I hope you don't mind me saying John literally posted earlier today that at the end of the day that he's saved up a whole bunch of money. I think he was going to buy a new rifle or something like that. But he's like, yeah, no, this is going to take into my savings. So, and like Hitman is like, oh yeah, I love this ship. Fez is even like, yeah, I love this ship. I am like, yeah, we love this ship. So, yeah, I can see we're going to end up spending a bit of money this week. I need to go to work.
I'm Jared Huckabee. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate, and we'll see you all here next week.
Alright, so hopefully the audio has worked on this one. Guys, look, obviously as for the Galaxy, I will be putting out a video when it comes out. Next video going up right after this will be patch notes. Actually, the patch notes will probably go up today. Oh no, I'll put them up tonight. Same as this. But at the end of the day, guys, obviously as for the videos, we are obviously making content whenever we feel like it is important. So please obviously do like, comment and subscribe because that way you do get notified. And make sure you tick the bell too. But yeah, obviously we'll talk about patch notes now. That'll be up later as well. And obviously at the end of the day we'll be covering the RSI obviously on RSI Day. I'm also going to go through and make a video showing you guys how to CCU chain things to get a better deal for your ships. So if you are thinking about buying a ship for IAE, hold off for now because that video will probably be going up tomorrow. And it's going to be an in-depth look showing you how to buy chains, CCU chains, and how to do that so that you can actually save a lot of money. And I might end up showing you how to do it with the Constellation because I have a sneaking suspicion the Constellation is going to be a good starter for you upgrading to the Galaxy. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are in that comment section below. Obviously, this video has been helpful. Please smack that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe. And apart from that, guys, we'll see you in the next demonetized video from YouTube. Have a great night and enjoy.